Hello, my name is Hakon, and welcome back, all you fabulous fighting fantasy aficionados, for yet another episode of Playing Fighting Fantasy as I go into Phantoms of Fear, deep in the forest, deep in Affin Forest, as an elf who dreams again. And this, it may have been a while, it seems, since last time I played this, and there are different reasons, of course. There have been things in the way, there have been some more things in the way, there's been different priorities. But most of all, I would say that I have lacked the motivation to play, because if I had had the motivation, I would have found some time regardless. Um, and well, perhaps one of the reasons I haven't felt motivated is because of YouTube itself. As you may have noticed, a lot of the time there have been adverts on my channel. There aren't at the moment. The thing is that my channel has been monetized, but I've not been able to get paid for the monetization because of the antiquated system YouTube uses by sending a pin code in the mail. Who does that? It's 2023. Which never arrived, which means it wasn't sent in the first place, because I don't think 12 codes can go missing in the mail. It's just so unlikely that that's not why I didn't get it. So, regardless of the reason why I never got that, that means I won't get paid for my channel, which really isn't the reason I started my channel in the first place. It never has really been meant to be a big part of my motivation, but of course it was for a while when I was monetized, and I sort of was looking forward to actually getting something back for my efforts. But it doesn't seem that to be. Although recently I heard that YouTube has actually reduced the payouts again, which means that people's share of revenue from advertising has gone down, and even people who used to rely on that as a steady and income of a decent size can't do so anymore. So maybe it's all for the best in a way, because I don't have to get annoyed by stuff like that. And also that means that I don't have to create any videos that I don't really want to create just for the sake of getting views and therefore advertising revenue shares. I don't have to make clickbaity videos, clickbaity video titles, clickbaity thumbnails, any of those things that people do on YouTube. I can just do what I think is important to me or to others, what I like to do, what I want to do, when I want to do it. And I do apologize that sometimes that means there will be some gaps in my creativity when it comes to making YouTube videos, but such is life. Your life is also other things than YouTube. At least for me it is, not for everyone. Anyway. So, advantages and disadvantages. Also, another advantage, at the moment there will be no adverts on my videos. I'm not sure if YouTube is going to keep doing that, or if they at some point will show adverts anyway, even though they will take all the money. But yeah, there you go. That's YouTube for you. Still a very good platform, actually, and in many ways better than a lot of other stuff going on these days with Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. Yeah, YouTube. What can you do? Right. So another thing that is new is something I started doing in earlier this year is to use OBS for recording, which has a few distinct advantages. One thing you may have noticed when I've been doing fighting fantasy videos in the past is I've had to restart my camera every half hour. Now I'm streaming the signal straight from my camera to my computer into OBS, and then it's recorded through OBS. It is at sacrifice of absolute quality compared to recording in 4K and downsizing to 1080 in post-processing like I used to do. But it has a few very huge advantages, which is I don't have to restart it every half hour. I don't have to resync the audio every time I restart the camera. I don't have to, what else is there? I don't have to take the memory card out of my camera. I don't have to wait for it to load to my computer, etc., etc. And also the video stream itself, the video recording itself that on my computer is now also a lot smaller, both from the webcam and from the overhead camera. So it's a lot of win-win-win-win when it comes to this. Everything is synchronized, the cameras are synchronized, the sound is synchronized. I just have to edit out sneezes, phone calls, that sort of thing, which I have to do anyway. If somebody shows up on the door, I have to edit that out most likely. Things like that, and I don't have to synchronize everything, which means it will take me a lot less time to actually process a video. In most cases, I should be able to go into my video editor, DaVinci Resolve, and just find where it begins, where it ends, do a fade out, fade in, fade out, press export, Bob's your uncle. Yeah, so that'll be brilliant. Now, the thing about using OBS is, of course, at the moment, I have not set up the scenes for doing my traditional transition of moving the book into the camera kind of thing. So I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess up my cameras now. But maybe I'll do that next time. So if you're not too bothered, it'll be fine. So I'm just going to change the view to my desk. Ta-da! I like that. So I got my supplies ready, as I like calling them. I got my character sheet from last time, or the last few times. I got my maps, which of course now I'm not sure where things are and why. I got my pen and my dice, which I may or may not move at some point. Usually when I play these games, I just skip the dice because, as you know, as I keep repeating ad nauseam, perhaps, the main point of a game book, or the main game in a game book, is not rolling the dice. That's a random element that creates a difficulty level. But the main puzzle is to find the correct way through. So, and the main challenge. There's no challenge. There's no mental or physical challenge when it comes to rolling dice. It's just a random element. It's something you have no control over whatsoever if you do it properly, that is. You can cheat and try to, but that's a different thing again. So, which means that it's harder to be excited about good or bad dice rolls than there is to be excited about being clever and finding the clues, finding the right path, etc., etc. So, that's why I always, at some point in the game, ignore the dice and just go with the book, the puzzle. And this is also why books that don't use dice, that are just a puzzle, like Victoria Hancock's books, which you might see actually just hovering over the top of the green spines there, while those are some of the best game books, I think. Right. So let's get started. I'm going to do a quick recap now. So in this book, you are an elf. You're a wood elf in Afton Forest. You have, like elves do, an affinity for dreams. And you know that dreams are important. You can control your dreams. You can actually do things in dreams that relate to a magical spirit world. The gods can speak to you in the dreams. So when you dream that you need to save the wood elves from a blight created by the demon prince Ishtar, you immediately decide to leave your tribe behind, go into the forest, find the blight, find the demon prince Ishtar, defeat him, and make sure that the world is saved. Because, as the saying, the cliche goes, only you can save the world. Now, normally at this point, I might have brought out a cup of tea and said, yeah, and in order to save the world, you need a cup of tea. I don't have a cup of tea because I drank it when I was preparing for this video, setting things up. But I've got water, which is the second best thing. Right. So, I might skip some bits now because I'll play this, the intro. It's quite a wordy book, and I'm not sure how long my voice will hold. So, and this one, of course, there is also a concept of dream battles inside dreams, which use an ability called power. And I'm keeping my abilities from last time just for simplicity's sake. I've got skill of 11, stamina 21, luck of only 8, and a power score of 14. Power can go up and can go down. It can go beyond initial stats. Just going to do it like that. And let's just start from... I sort of skipped the intro now by telling you what happens there. I'm going to do a little bit of skipping in the beginning now because it's really wordy, and the thing is, if I do this every time I play it, I'm going to get really sick of these passages here. So basically, in the beginning, you are on the trail in a dream. I think this is, yes. In a dream, yes, it's in a dream. And you have to make a choice if you go left or right, and so I'm going to go left. If you want to know what happens exactly in that paragraph there, which is several pages long, watch one of the previous videos, will you? Okay, yeah. So I'm just going to do this very quickly now because just to get into things again, I don't need to get all the details. I just need to get the gist. So let's see. You're holding your sword, which is called Telessa. And then you hear a voice, which is one of your gods speaking. And it says, Elden Urin, save the forest. You have seen and smelled the suffering it is enduring. Yet this is only the smallest fraction of what it and the whole world will suffer if the evil underground is released. Prepare yourself if you will undertake this burden. For now I tell you, remember this sacred spot. So there's actually, this is a clue in this perhaps, that you are supposed to find a similar location, presumably later in the game, that will be important. So this is actually in a glade with 6 elder trees in the middle of a clearing. So I'll need to remember that for later. And then I gain 1 power point and wake up. So my power is then 15. Yeah. I do apologize for the skipping there, but let's just do this by the book, as it were, from now on, and go to 380. It's just that beginning is so long-winded. When you are fully awake, you know what you must do. So this is the dream that sort of, it told you what you need to do, and then you go to your elders and say, I have to leave now and save the world. So when you are fully awake, you know what you must do. Somewhere in the forest is an area of foul blight, which marks the entrance to Istra's underground stronghold. You must find it, enter the pit, seek out Istra, and do battle with him. This will be an immense task. A quest which, whether you succeed or fail, the wood elves will sing about as long as they have voices to sing. It is a particularly daring undertaking for a wood elf, for your kind do not normally stray more than half a day's journey from home, which I find really weird, by the way. You call a council of the tribal elders and explain your task. They protest that the mission is impossible, but you do not allow such doubts to enter your mind. You tell them that you must go, and you make arrangements for the protection of the tribe during your absence. After embracing your closest friends, and many seem to be such friends under these circumstances, you prepare to leave. All you need is your sword, Telessa, and a backpack. You do not take any provisions because, as a wood elf, and an arrogant one at that, who doesn't realize that that's a very stupid thing not to do, you are confident of finding enough to eat as long as you are in the forest. See, someone who hasn't been more than a half a day's journey away from home, and you know there's a blight in the forest, and you think that you know how to get provisions anywhere in the forest, even though you might have to travel for days through it. That sounds like a bit of arrogance to me, a little bit of hubris, sort of like you're almost asking to have problems in the future. Anyway, which way should you go? Lake Necros lies not far to the east, so you must choose between heading roughly north, south, or west. Now, the impression I get from playing this before is that if you go south, the book will keep steering you north and west again. So, in the past, I have gone north and I have gone west, and I'm not sure whether west or north is the best. I'm gonna go with west. I mean, I think. Well, hang on. There's a +1 power here up at the northerly direction. I'm gonna go west. I'm gonna go west. Yeah, let's go west. Just like Pet Shop Boys indicated was a good idea, because life is peaceful there. Right. So you set off west through the familiar forest. The sun strikes shafts of light through the trees. Am I in good shot here? Yeah, that should be okay. Yeah, okay. That's the best shot, I think. Birds sing in the branches and small animals rustle the undergrowth. But the burden of your quest lies heavy on you, and you cannot take your usual pleasure in such things. There are few true paths this deep in the forest, but there are plenty of signs to show a wood elf which way is which. Again, only been half a day's march away from your home, and of course that bit you know like the back of your hand, but the rest of the forest you have no idea. It's so strange. See, if this had been, this is very unrealistic, of course. If this had been with a little bit of better world building, the elves would have been all through the forest regularly, and they would know everything in the forest. But there you go. And you maintain a generally westward direction. After half a day's travel, which means you've gone as far as you've gone before, you smell wood smoke and hear the rumble of indistinct voices. Humans, most probably, to judge by the timbre of the voices. They are a little way off to your left. Would you seek their company or press on with your journey? Now, I seem to remember that these people, they were just scared of you and you didn't really get much out of it. I'm just going to press on with my journey. So 298. The further west you travel, the more you are struck by the peculiar behavior of the animals. Normally timid creatures snarl at you from the bushes. Birds twitter in fright from the topmost branches. It is also clear that the woodland creatures have been harvesting food, something you should also do. It is not the usual season for this, and you realize that all this strange behavior is due to their instinctive awareness of Istra's imminent invasion. There are two consequences of this. In the first place, it makes you confident that you are heading in the right direction. Bravo. Secondly, however, you begin to regret not bringing any provisions from home. Told you so. Since it is likely that the closer you get to Ishtra's pit, the more the forest animals will have gathered or eaten the available food. You always knew that you would need to carry food when you were underground, but it now seems sensible to gather provisions for your whole journey, both overground and underground. The next stage of your westward journey will be found by turning to 376. Before you turn there, however, remember that paragraph number and turn to 50. So this is a way to do a sort of catch-all provision gathering, which is going to be the same paragraph regardless of the few, I think there's at least two now. Two possible ways you can move northwards, and both of them take you past paragraph 50. There might be more than two, I don't know, but both of them past paragraph 50. Which you only see, I mean, if there's only two ways north now, you only save one paragraph by doing it in that slightly confusing way. It would have made more sense, I think, to just add an extra paragraph, even if it was just a carbon copy of the previous one, because it is less confusing and also these kind of game mechanics that tear you a little bit away from the story. I don't think that's Anyway, as you search for provisions, you may well have to fight some forest creature, either because you try to deprive it of some food or simply because it is aggressive, and of course you don't want to eat it, I guess. Do you want to eat it? I think you're a vegetarian, so yeah. Anyway, 1. No encounter. I think that's the first time that's happened. I don't have to fight anything. If you do not have to fight any opponent, or when you have 1, roll 2 dice. 6. This is a total of meals worth of provisions. Let's see, provisions, we've got 6. You are able to find. Enter this total in the provisions remaining box of your adventure sheet, etc., and then turn to the paragraph whose number you were instructed to remember. 376. Did you hear the rumble on the roof there? Do you have some birds like to land on our roof? Actually, a while back, there were some crows that were pecking on the roof as well, which was very annoying. Later in the afternoon, you hear the distinctive sound of a wild boar trampling the undergrowth. The noise dies away and you think you are safe. But half a kilometer further on, the creature bursts out at you from some shrubs. Now, this is also kind of a weird thing, because you're an elf, you're part of the forest. A wild boar is part of the forest. You would think that you'd be able to live in a kind of harmony where you just ignore each other. Because a wild boar obviously is not something that you'd think of as food. You wouldn't hunt it, you wouldn't kill it. The boar wouldn't therefore be too bothered by you, you'd think. But there you go. Since the elves of Affen Forest do not eat meat, this encounter cannot replenish your stock of provisions, but you may decide to take its tusks if you win. No. You may decide to take its tusks. If you win, turn to 326. So, skill 6, stamina 5. My skill is 11, so I've got a 5 skill point advantage. So he rolls 5. That means he loses 2 stamina. He rolls 6, which also will necessarily be able to beat, so he loses 2 more. And he rolls 8, and I roll 8, and so it is dead. And you go to 326 and now I've got my tasks. Okay, I'm just going to underline it because it's already on my sheet there. Also, I took a potion of fortune with me because my luck was so low. So that's the potion I have from the start. 326. During the afternoon, there is no noticeable increase or decrease in the strange behavior of the forest animals, which you observed before. You reckon that you may have to change direction, but you postpone that decision until morning and decide to look first for a place to spend the night. While you are pondering these matters, you almost trip over a sapling which someone has bent down and fixed to the ground. As you walk past, will you leave the sapling to your right or to your left? Now, I do believe I know from experience that it is the right side that is the right side. So I'm going to go to 265 and pass on the right. The trap is on the left. You find 2 possible places to spend the night. Now, this is another thing as well. If you never go more than half day's journey from your camp, you would never need to know how to spend the night in the outdoors. You would always go back to your camp because half a day away, half a day back. It still doesn't make any sense. This is like this is like sort of a story of being in the wilderness as written by someone who's never been in the wilderness. That's what it seems to me. Yeah. Anyway. You find 2 possible places to spend the night. You could make a bed under some bracken in the little dell, or you could climb up a mighty oak and make yourself comfortable in the crook of one of its vast lower branches. And in the past, I've done 2 different things, both seemingly successful. Let's see, strength, stamina. Not sure about the oak. There's some minuses there. I'm just gonna go with the bracken. I'm gonna go with the bracken. I'll go with the bracken. Where's the is it because you're falling asleep, perhaps? Anyway, I'm gonna go with the bracken. I like bracken. It smells nice. Prickly, but it smells nice. Okay. So 131. The rustling of the bracken, as small nighttime creatures negotiate its stems, influences your dream. In your dream, the rustling sound becomes the wind as it rushes over a vast plain with its endless acres of dry grass. You see yourself walking through the grass, which comes up to your thighs. You do not know where you are going. But a growing feeling of doom convinces you that it is not towards good. All at once, you find yourself falling forwards. This happens in agonizingly slow motion, and you know that two sturdy stalks of grass will pierce your eyes and blind you to the light of this world. If your power score is 14 or more, and it is 15, turn to 49, otherwise turn to 20. So I'm going to turn to 49 now. You know the virtue of staying with a dream, however strange or lethal it may appear. After all, it is happening in your mind, so you can come to little actual harm. Good point. Although the dream is frightening, you manage to stay asleep. When your eyes are pierced, it is true that you are blinded to that dream world, but instead your eyes are opened to another world, and the dream abruptly changes. Turn to 144. You're standing alone on the plain. You know, in your dream, that it has taken you years to get here. The plain stretches without features to the horizon in all directions. Will you wait to see what happens, or start walking? In the past, I have waited. So maybe I still haven't tried walking, so I'm going to try walking this time. 91. Since there are no features to make one direction more attractive than another, it takes a surprising amount of will to start walking. But no sooner have you made that effort of will than things change drastically. You are standing in a clear spot, the eye of the storm, while all around you rages the most terrible storm, as if the gods themselves were at war, or the sky were trying to separate from the earth. The storm seems to be... That's a very good figure, by the way. The sky were trying to separate from the earth. Nice one. The storm seems to be pressing in towards you. Will you run for your life or stay where you are? Well, if you're in the center of the storm, running will make it worse. So, in conclusion, I will stay, 164, stay, and not run, 45. Run, 164. While you watch in amazement from the clear spot, the chaos of the storm subsides a bit, and you begin to be able to make out certain distinct features. Arrayed from right to left in front of you are three types of storm. 3 types of storm. Lightning flashes on your half right, rain lashes down directly in front of you, and an immense hurricane is boiling up to your half left. You spin around to find exactly the same arrangement. While you look on in awe, a feeling of great calm descends on you, but it is the calm of power waiting to be unleashed, not the calm of sloth. At the same time, you know, as if a voice had spoken inside you, that the eye of the storm is formed by wind, water, and fire in this way. Gain 2 power points and turn to 253. So this is the right decision, clearly, at this point. So I'm going to make a note of that this is a good decision. That's the wrong one, actually. 164, that's the one I need to do. So that's plus 2 power. I'm going to go to 253. 53, not 5. And then I actually up to 17 power. I'm going to do a little circle there. And that means it's a correct decision. So I'm going to do like this as well. Okay. Yep. So we'll just make a note that the bracken seems to be the best thing for it. Just going to do all these. I'm just circling the things on my map that it feels like is part of the correct path. There. Okay, so that's those things are correct path. 253. The thing is, once I've established that something is the correct path, or I'm quite sure of it, then it's easier to skip ahead and make it a little bit more efficient for future episodes. Because I'm not presuming I'm going to win this time, that would be quite unlikely. But yeah. So you wake up. While you were dreaming, you had a feeling of certainty, invincibility, and knowledge. But when you are fully awake, that feeling is gone. Although you remember the details of the dream, you are uncertain what it means or what it could have to do with your quest. You judge from the night sky that dawn is still a couple of hours away. Will you go back to sleep or resume your journey? So going back to sleep now is the same paragraph I see as earlier, waiting, which means you would have missed this entire little bit and getting 2 power points if you had waited instead of walked inside the dream. So then that is definite proof. Definite proof to me that that is the correct thing to do and that I am on the right path. 172. So I got the option of dreaming more, but I don't think I want to go back to sleep. I think that will make things worse. I'm gonna go. Oh yes, no, it's back to sleep is 341. Yeah, sorry. So 172 is okay. 172 is the okay. So it just that means it is a choice that doesn't make a difference. It looks like because those paragraphs are. If you go to 341, you're going to get to 172 without anything happening anyway. So I'm going to just go to 172 and see what happens next. You have to decide about what direction to take. You know from your experiences yesterday that west is roughly the right direction. So you must choose between northwest or southwest. And this is where we change pages of our map. I still haven't gone southwest before. Have gone northwest. Is there anything interesting that seems obvious that this is the right way? Certainly some wrong choices here. I'm going to go northwest because, well, I sort of know it seems to be okay going that way. So yeah, I'll just stick to what I know for the moment. Sometimes when I play these games, I like sort of trying out the ones I haven't tried before, just to see what happens, even if I think it's the incorrect one, because it is a shame, I think, to miss out on potentially interesting, colorful things happening just because you want to win the game. It's not just about the winning, it's about the experience, isn't it? It's the journey, the J word. Yes, there we are. In the mid-morning on this further day of travel through Affin Forest, you enter a valley formed by sheer crags towering on either side. The tops on the floor of the valley... No, but there are... The tops of the crags are wooded, but there are fewer trees on the floor of the valley. As soon as you enter it, you feel that this is a special spot. But special to whom? And for what reason? You do not know. Would you cast a finding spell to see what that tells you? Or would you preserve your power and either continue through the valley or retreat out of it and find another route northwest? So, in the past here, it says retreat is the wrong choice. That's a different paragraph number than... Hang on. Oh, okay. Continue. Hang on. 2, 1, 2, okay. Through the valley. Retreat. Okay, so there's something going on over here. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe I should go and check it out. Because there was something strange going on over here. I'm going to... Although it looks like if I try to find another route, I get a lock point. I'm not sure. Is that an indication that that is the correct thing to do? But then again, I get a lock point even when I do go into the valley and come out again. So I'm going to continue through the valley because I'm a bit curious now what this was about again. There we go. You pass on the left side. Yes, this is where I thought there might be something going on that might be important last time, but I wasn't sure. You pass on the left side of the valley, a rock formation which juts out of the cliff like some vast buttress. As soon as you are past it, you can see that it is matched by another about 200 meters further down. In the backwater, as it were, of the valley which lies between these twin buttresses, you find the answer to your question about the nature of this place. Two majestic stags whose many branched antlers indicate great age and authority are standing, apparently on guard, in front of a vast pile of bones. You now realize that this is the legendary death ground of the deer of Affan Forest. It is said that no mortal may gaze upon it and live, but perhaps this is just an old wives' tale. For you certainly do not feel threatened. Will you nevertheless cross to the other side of the valley to give the stags a wide berth? Go to 383. Or will you approach the death ground? Turn to 101. Okay, so now I've got the option of leaving again, but I'm going to continue to see what is going on. 101. Oh, one more page. There we are. A heron flaps lazily from the pile of bones as you approach. Now that you are close, you can see that the stags are not alive, but are amazingly lifelike statues. But your surprise at this discovery is nothing compared with your astonishment when one of them speaks inside your mind. The voice is slow, as if unused for a long time, and the words are rather old-fashioned. Advance, friend. Be not surprised. Our Maker gave us the power of speech, yes, and of movement, too, should the occasion require it. We know somewhat of your mission and applaud it. We may grant you one boon. What will you ask for? So, their company and protection, a gift, information about how to defeat Istra, information about the best route to Istra's pit. Now, last time I asked them how to defeat Istra. That was not the right thing to ask for. I know that I will find Istra's pit all on my own. Of course, the best routes. Now, that could be interesting in itself. That company and protection seems like an unlikely thing because... But a gift. I think a gift is the important thing here. It's something. It's an item. It's something that gives me either a special ability or a clue. Because obviously you can't defeat Istra with just force or your own magic. You need to be able to defeat it with something else. I think there are some items that are important here. So I'm going to go with gift. Maybe that is something that is going to be crucial for the battle later. The stags do not speak in response, but a strange force sparks and crackles between their two sets of antlers. Your sight is temporarily blinded by the brightness of the flashes. When you can see again, there is a single antler suspended in midair between the stags. You step forward and grasp the antler. Whatever force is holding it is released, for it comes easily into your hands. On inspection, it turns out to be hollow, like horn, And you note particularly that it has 12 branches. So we have, so I think, again, this is where you're supposed to go. Just going to do like this now. And there's a clue in the number 12, clearly. So just see number 12, clue, and then it's antler. Okay, you blow a mighty blast which echoes around the canyon before tucking the antler horn safely in your backpack. So that sort of solves the problem. I know some people don't know the difference between a horn on an animal and an antler, but here you have a horn that is also an antler and vice versa. Just to add to the confusion, perhaps. Anyway, yeah, for those who don't know, an antler is what looks like a horn on an animal, but it sheds every year. Whereas an actual horn is something that is permanent on an animal. So it doesn't go away, it just keeps growing, usually. Yeah. Right. Silently thanking, yes, before tucking the antler horn safely in your backpack, silently thanking the majestic creatures and proceeding on your way up the valley. Add 1 luck point. So let's see, the luck plus 1 antler horn. And then turn to 383, which is going over here. Okay. So I've got antler horn. Oops. Antler with associated number 12. Okay. And 1 luck point. Doesn't make a difference because it can't go any higher anyway. Right. In the late afternoon, you start to climb a range of hills, which are just as thickly wooded as any other part of Afton Forest. How do you know? You haven't been in all parts of Afton Forest. You haven't been this far before. Again, doesn't make any sense. Add 1 luck point for getting this far through the forest. Again, the point I don't need. Actually, it would have been very hard to have lost a few luck points by now, I think, but maybe. The rock of the hills is exposed in places. Boulders litter the ground and you pass quite a few small caves. You realize that it would not take much searching to find one large enough to spend the night in. Would you do this or not? So, in the past, I have made a note here that not looking for a cave is the wrong thing to do. So I should look for a cave. Go to 181. You soon find a suitable cave. You can see far enough in to tell that it is not occupied, at least not by anything visible. But there are also signs that it has been recently used by some animal. Gnawed bones litter the ground, and there is a lingering but unfamiliar animal smell. Oof. Will you spend the night in this cave or look elsewhere? So, in the past, it looks like I made a note here that it's actually a good thing and a correct thing to stay. So I'm going to stay in the cave, 357. I'm getting more and more notes here on my map, which tells me what is the correct path, which is a good thing. You gather some logs and uproot several bushes to make a screen across the mouth of the cave. This won't fool the cave's occupant if it returns, but it will give you advance warning of its return, since it would make a noise while removing the screen. You do not sleep well, since you are constantly half expecting to hear the animal coming back, but it doesn't. Only one brief vision deepens your otherwise shallow sleep, but it is a dream of great and awesome beauty. You see yourself standing in the center of a ring formed by 6 pools. So just like 6 elder trees earlier, I suppose. So you've got 6 pools, 6 elder trees, 12 points on the antler. 6s and 12s, okay. Two of the pools are filled with liquid fire, which continually changes shape and color and seems to form recognizable images, but they are gone before you can identify them, and a new image has taken the place of the other, forever lost. Two of the pools are filled with water, so again you got the elements here. There's fire, water, and air, I suppose. Just like the storm you saw in your dream. So there's something to do with elements, fire, water, and air. You got, yeah. Two of the pools are filled with water. In your dream, you look into one of these pools and know that the water is burning cold, though it does not freeze over. You see reflected in the pool a dark star-studded night, but these are not the familiar constellations which circle Titan. The last two pools, arranged opposite each other, as the other pairs are too, are funnels for mighty winds. One pool is exhaling and the other inhaling, as if they were the breath of the world, and the strength of their blasts would either suck you into the fathomless depths or blow you into the heavens. Excuse me. So in a way, it's like a kind of both the elements and also an indication of some kind of balance, I suppose, at the same time. Gain 2 power points and turn to 319. So now our power is the highest it's ever been, actually. It's 19. 319. There we go. In the morning, when you wake up, you tear away the screen from the mouth of the cave. Dawn light floods in from the sun, which has risen just over the tops of the trees in the forest plain below. You can now see more of the cave than you could last night, and you realize, that it goes deeper into the mountain than you had thought. At the back of the cave, screened by a boulder, a narrow tunnel winds away into darkness. It is so narrow that you would have to wriggle through, pushing your backpack and sword in front of you. You can feel no draft issuing from the tunnel, nor is there any other indication that it might lead anywhere. Would you explore the tunnel or continue up the hillside? Now, at this point, I have gone through the tunnel before, and that seemed to work okay. I'm not sure if I get any benefits from it. As the lichen, I'm just going to skip the tunnel, I think. So let's see what I can't read my own writing here on the map. Let's see what I've been indicating here. I'm just wondering if was there any item I could find inside there. I just can't see. There was a pendant in there. Yeah, I don't think you got any benefits at all from going in there, it seems. So I'm just going to skip that. So I'm going to go uphill. 114. The last stretches of the hill are hard going. The trees are thinner, scree covers the slope and provides little or no soil for roots, and little or no safe footing for a traveller. The trees which line the ridge are bent into weird shapes as if by a constant westerly wind. Eventually you arrive, panting, at the crest itself, and you lie down on the ground to survey the scene below you. The western slope of the range of hills descends fairly gently into a valley, where all seems to be peace and harmony. The trees there seem still to be clothed in spring green, but this fresh copse ends with shocking abruptness in terrain which is unlike anything you have seen before, awake or in your worst nightmares. You realize that you are looking out over the blighted part of the forest, which your dream revealed to you. It is considerably larger than you thought it would be. It stretches 4 kilometers. Turn to 386. Empathy knows no distances, and as a wood elf, you can feel the pain of the suffering forest. Actually, if it doesn't know any distance, you would have felt it before. You wouldn't have felt it any more now that you were closer to it, would you? Yeah. Sorry, I'm being over analytical and pedantic, and but anyway, that's just me. Actually, yes, I can be a bit pedantic. It's true. Sometimes just for humorous reasons, of course. Right. Yes, even though you're still some way from it. What lies before your eyes is like a mockery of the forest you know and love. There are trees, all right, although many areas have been devastated as if by fire or by a horde of careless, axe-wielding dwarfs. Racist. In contrast to the clarity of the air where you are and in the pleasant valley below, the actually, yes. Now this is a bit weird because it's actually written dwarf with an F, dwarfs with an F, which there's a difference now, of course, since Tolkien, dwarves with an F and dwarves with a V. And generally in fantasy literature now, dwarves with a V indicates the fantasy race of creatures known as dwarves. Whereas dwarf with an F is now the word you use for little people. So, and therefore, in fantasy literature like this one, you really should be writing dwarves with a V, not with F. But there you go. I'm sort of being pedantic again, aren't I? Anyway, in contrast to the clarity of the air where you are and in the pleasant valley below, the cursed region in the distance is shrouded by a murky haze, which rolls and seethes with a chaotic life of its own. But your observations of the scene are cut short by a sudden harsh cry, which rips the still air, silences the birds twittering in the trees above you, and sends a spurt of chilled fear into your heart. You jump to your feet in alarm. Will you run and hide from whatever vast being may be the source of this sound, or stay where you are? In the past, I have tried both, and hiding seems to be the wrong choice. So I'm going to stay where I am. 373. 373. There is no sign of any living creature that might have uttered the unearthly cry you heard. While you watch from the hill, however, the swirling haze which covers the blighted forest suddenly leaps into greater motion, and even though you are far away, you are simultaneously struck by a furious blast of sorcerous wind, which knocks you off your feet. Test your luck. 6, I am lucky. Turn to 175. If you're unlucky, turn to 93. So 175. At the moment the wind struck, you were fortunately breathing out. So none of the evil blast entered your lungs. Turn to 57. I was lucky. You continue your journey on all fours. It is some time before you dare to pick yourself up and proceed as normal through the trees. You wonder whether the blast of wind was directed by some intelligent mind towards you in person, or whether it was the instinctive response of evil towards good. You realize that, however hazardous your journey up to now has been, has it really? No, maybe. The dangers have at least been reasonably familiar. Once you reach the blighted land, however, you suspect that you will enter an uncharted region of unknown terrors. Turn to 239. Before long, you are at the foot of the hills, and you enter the glade whose spring greenery you admired from above. There is no doubt in your mind that this is an enchanted place, containing the power of good. The air is fresh and sweet. Small flowers dapple the sward, and the trees, mainly silver birches, are filled with trilling birds. You have no idea whose enchantment the place is under, but you can guess why it is there. As a bastion against the evil of the blasted lands beyond. But that also doesn't really make any sense. Why the blasted lands didn't used to be there, and so the glade would have been there before the blasted lands were blasted. But there you go. You revel in the pleasant atmosphere as you stroll among the trees. Soon you come to a fair-sized pool which is fed by a bubbling brook. Bubbling or babbling? How often usually brooks are babbling, not bubbling, are they? Will you drink from the pool, bathe in it, or avoid any contact with it? Let's see. In the past, I have bathed, and that gives me stamina, luck, and skill. I'm going to bathe in the pool. 199. The water is clear and refreshingly cool. It is nice to wash off the dust of your journey. You may add 2 luck and 2 stamina points. So that's my luck back to Omega 8. Stamina is still 21, yeah. If you were infected by the spores of the itching powder plant, that sounds like something from Beano, you may also restore the lost skill point. Then you rest on the bank in the warm sun and drift off to sleep. Turn to 160, so now we're back in the dream world again. Okay. In your dream, the fairy folk who tend this enchanted garden appear to you. To tell you that they are the secret children of Galana, goddess of plants and fertility. They dance and teach you many things about plants that even the wood elves do not know. Well, I'm not surprised. They don't go any further than half a day's journey from home. Why would they know anything about plants? They would only know about the ones in their just immediate vicinity. Finally, they invite you to stay with them to combat evil by tending their garden of good. It is a sweet temptation, especially to a wood elf. Roll 1 die, and this time, of course, if I roll a 6, I'm going to roll again. 1, okay. Because if you roll a 6, you want to stay there forever, and it's the end of the game, and it's quite an ending that I quite enjoy being in the book, and I quite enjoy having done it one time, but it's one of those things that, of course, when you get there again, you don't want to go all the way back to the beginning just because it ends there. So you want to keep going. So, right, so I'm going to turn to 31. You harden your resolve and spurn the offer of the fairies. Your destiny lies in more direct action. You awaken from the dream and find that the glade has vanished. You are right on the border of the blighted land. Why is it vanished? I thought it was supposed to be a bastion for good. But only if you stay in it? If there is a bastion for good there, doesn't that mean that the blight can't move past it, and so in a way you've saved the world? There's some unanswered questions here. Anyway. You are right on the border of the blighted land. All that is left of the enchanted glade is a single elder tree. The tree is obviously magical. Your attention is drawn to its branches in particular because of their regular arrangement. You notice that there are exactly 22 branches. Note this on your adventure sheet. So I've got 22. So we got numbers 6. We got 6. We got 12. So 22 elder branches. Okay. All but one are normal leafy boughs, but the other is silver and gleams with its own inner light. You pluck it, stow it in your backpack, and take your first step into Ishtar's cruel kingdom. Turn to 259. Right, so I've got a silver branch, I've got boar tusks, I've got antler horn, I've got clues for 6 elder trees, 12 antler horns, 22 elder branches. I've got a clue that's something to do with elements, fire, water, and earth, 6 pools, and that is what I've got so far. I've got a antler horn, of course, as well, that I can blow. And yeah, so that is interesting stuff. So at the moment, it looks like maybe maybe it's possible to just start from this point on later playthroughs when I inevitably reach the end of the line and fail in my quest in this particular playthrough. We'll find out. 259. Yes. After only a few steps in the corrupt forest, you know that something is wrong. It is not just the sense of evil, which you will get used to as you would to a bad smell. This is why when you go to fight evil, you should always bring a bottle of Febreze. Which is not noticed after a while. There is something within yourself. You will find that from here on in your adventure, you are unable to cast any spells. Now, I didn't really get a chance to cast any spells, did I, in this particular playthrough? So the spell casting thing is almost, in this book, it's almost sort of second thought, sort of, ooh, yeah, elves are magical, so you need spells, and also it's almost to catch you out and try to make you cast a spell inside a dream, which will lead to failure because you can't cast spells in dreams, which doesn't make any sense because the dream is not real, and so you should be able to cast a spell in a dream, and the effect of it will be just in the dream world, and it's because you imagine the effect of it, and so that doesn't make any sense either, and so they might as well just have dropped the magic system altogether because that would have made more sense and saved up more paragraphs than you need to add the extra paragraph for gathering provisions, which was a bit clunky. So there you go. Rant over. Okay. One of Ishtar's defenses is to prevent any magic except his own being effective in his domain. You retain your power score, however, there may yet be some use for it. As you walk forward, the evil mist, which you saw from the hillside, seethes around you as if urging you to return. Lightning plays over to your right. A tall pine, throttled by ivy, which is wriggling even now, looms in your path. From your survey from the hillside, you know that this blighted part of the forest is almost circular in shape, spreading out from the center, which must be where the entrance lies to Ishtar's underground stronghold. All you have to do is follow the steady worsening of the blight and you will reach your goal. Yeah, all you have to do is for anyone who's seen Pointless on British TV, all you have to do to win the jackpot is to get a pointless answer. One obstacle at a time, however. You have reached one of the patches of bare ground where the trees have rotted away to nothingness. Will you cross the clearing or walk around it, keeping to the trees? No. In the past, if you cross it, you have to fight something that's 713, it looks like. And if you are doing the round it, you are fighting a 612, effectively. So then it seems round is the best option. 191. The rot which has created the clearing has also started to affect the trees on the edge of the clearing. You step on something squelchy and a foul smell rises. Febreze again, yep. When you look down, you see that it was a root rotted from the inside by the evil in the soil. And then, was it a trick of the shifting half-light of this place? Or did that root move slightly? No, it was not your imagination. For now, several roots are squirming towards you, dripping noxious slime. And now they are joined by a dozen more. And now more. You must hack your way through these roots. If you have a hatchet... Oh, hang on. Why don't I have a hatchet? Okay, so maybe there is... Okay, so there might be one point in this book that I've missed where you can get a hatchet, which might have been useful. So at the moment, I won't say that this is the perfect path yet. But close to it. There must be a hatchet not far off the path that I have gone. Okay, maybe it's one of the other directions in the beginning, because I know that they direct you back again to the same route eventually. So maybe that's where you can get the hatchet. If you have a hatchet, you can add 1 to your attack strength for each round as you wield your sword in one hand and the hatchet in the other. So, root skill 6, stamina 12. I'm gonna roll it, but I'm not too bothered. I could just ignore it now. So I've got a 5 skill point advantage He rolls a 6, which or they rolled a 6, I should say. So they're down to 10. They rolled an 8. I roll 7. They're down to 8. They roll a 3. They're down to 6. They roll 9. I roll 9. They're down to 4. They roll 9. I roll 9. They're down to 2. They roll 7. I roll 8. And the roots are dead. The root of evil, I suppose. The root of all evil. Yeah. If you win, you leave a foul mess behind you and break. Well, not much fouler than what it already was, surely. And break away further from the clearing where the rot has not yet warped the trees so much. Turn to 6. How can you go somewhere where the rot is actually less prominent when allegedly a few paragraphs ago it was like a circle and you move towards the middle where it should be more blighted, but here there's more blight on the edge than a little bit further in. That doesn't make any sense, but there you go. You continue through the cursed forest. The leaves are brown and the skies are grey, California dreaming and all that stuff, and swollen beyond the normal size. There is a constant dripping of vile liquid from the leaves onto the soggy ground. Late in the afternoon, or so you guess it to be, but the sun is usually invisible beyond the seething brown mist. There's a lot of seething in this one. That's the third seethe in this book. It's kind of a cool word because it sounds very seethe. It sounds very ugly and nasty. You come across a definite trail tending to your left. You dread to think what manner of creatures may have made a trail in this doomed place. It may have been there before this place got the way it is, actually, to be honest. Because once the blight starts, obviously the vegetation won't grow over a trail that's already there, will it? No. Will you follow the trail or continue through the trackless trees? In the past, I have followed the trail. And that seems to be the right thing to do, so I'm going to follow the trail. There we are. 69. You walk warily along the trail. To your relief, nothing pounces out at you from the woodland on either side, and there appear to be no traps. The trail leads straight to a fenced-off area. Inside the fence, the trees have been cleared, but great holly bushes have been allowed to spring up. The hollies are so dense that you cannot see whether or not there is anything else apart from them here. The spot has obviously been created by an intelligent mind, but for what purpose? For all you know, it could be a nursery for poisonous holly bushes. Will they go into the fenced-off area or avoid it? Now, there is something in here that is important for me to get, I believe. There's a clue, another clue here, it looks like. Okay, go in, avoid is 321. That's the same as the previous paragraph for going away, so I'm going to go in. 122. The holly bushes are very prickly. They are very prickly and may well be poisonous. Yes, it is the berries and the leaves if you eat them. Yes. But you find that there is enough space between the lowest branches and the ground for you to crawl through. You would have to be lucky to make it unscathed, however. If you want to make the attempt, turn to 277. If you change your mind and avoid this fenced-off area, turn to 321. Excuse me. So I'm going to make the attempt. Third time, I'm being given the option of going to 321, actually. And 277. You start to wriggle through, pressing yourself into the ground. Your backpack tends to snag on the branches, but you leave it on your back as protection. Test your luck. I am lucky. Luck goes down to 7 again. If you're lucky, you receive no scratches. If you're unlucky, a slight poison of the holy reduces your stamina by 2 points, which is just ridiculous. Nobody's stamina has ever, in the whole history of the universe, been reduced by getting scratches of holy on their skin. I mean, seriously. Turn to 206. So that's quite ridiculous, I think. I mean, it could have been something else in holly, something that was actually poisonous, or something with nastier spikes or something like that. But holly, I mean, the spikes are so small, they're on the leaves. You won't be able to, even if you tried, you wouldn't get that many scratches. The holly bushes you find form a protective perimeter and come to an end before long. To your astonishment, you see within the circle of bushes a ramshackle hut. There is no sign. Why would you call it a ramshackle hut? Now, this is another thing as well. You are an elf living in isolation in the forest, in a camp with huts. That would be your idea of the perfect abode. And then you come here and you see somebody else's hut and you describe it as ramshackle. The first time you've seen a building built by someone else than an elf, presumably because you've only been half a day's journey away from your camp. Does this make any sense? No, it doesn't. There is no sign of life. Will you go up to the hut or lie for a while where you are under the hollies and watch? Now, in the past, I have done both. It looks like it's clear that going up to the hut means you have to accidentally go into battle with the guy who lives there and kill him before you get the amber thing with some kind of clue on it. If I watch, on the other hand, it's possible to avoid that. So I'm going to go to 47. The cracking of a twig to your right warns you that someone or something is approaching. Before you can react, a heavy foot presses down on your neck and immobilizes you. A gruff voice commands you to reach slowly for your sword and throw it away from you. Will you do as he says, or resist? Presumably, resistance is futile. I'm going to comply. With a pang of regret, you slide Telessa out of its sheath and toss it onto the damp grass in front of you. You wonder what will happen next. But remind yourself that where there's life, there's hope. Yes. Yes, quite. I think that's part of a different world building because that's Cicero. Anyway, the foot is lifted off your neck and the voice tells you to get up. When you do so, you see a strange sight. Before you stands a stocky human, leaning on the haft of a brilliantly polished two-handed axe. What is strange is the contrast between the care with which the axe has been maintained and the man's wild and unkempt appearance, which is not strange at all. If you have a sword, you do not, and it's the most important possession you have, you do not let it rust. What you look like, that's vanity, that's completely unimportant. Yeah. Again, it's a slightly strange connection, slightly strange logic going on there that doesn't make any sense for the character that you are supposed to be in this story. I don't think. His clothes are little more than rags, his long hair and beard are matted, and his bare arms are ingrained with years of dirt. Suddenly he bursts into a cracked cackle of glee, and you realize that he is completely insane. Again, quite a strange conclusion, yeah. You will have to tread carefully. You tell him that you mean him no harm. Do you do this to put him off his guard so that you can try to seize Telessa and fight? Or will you bide your time? I'm going to bide my time. Well, I'm going to kill this guy. I think that's an indication that he'll be useful later. The wild man makes a mocking bow, extends an arm towards his dilapidated hut and invites you in. On the way, he scoops up your sword. Once you're inside, he sweeps the bench clear of utensils and mouldy bread. Why would he be eating mouldy bread? Where would he even get bread? See this. I mean, he's living in the middle of the forest. He would be hunting or gathering. He's not. He wouldn't. I mean, would he go to the nearest town to buy the bread? Where even is the nearest town? It's so far away. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Nor would it be moldy. He would make. He's a big man. He would finish. He would make a bread and he would eat it, and then he would be. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, and tells you to sit there. He draws up a chair opposite you. Once you have stopped sneezing from the dust, you raise by sitting on the bench. You introduce yourself. I am Eldenorin of the Galoran tribe of wood elves of Affan Forest. If your power score is 17 or over, yes, it's 19, turn to 152. Otherwise, turn to 354. Okay. You realize that the man is a dangerous lunatic, driven to insanity by the evil surrounding him in the forest. Now, this is more logical again. But something in the power of your voice and your presence pierces the veil of madness in his mind and fans the spark of humanity deep inside him. You see a shift in his eyes, as if he were now looking at reality, not as some crazy image of it. He wordlessly returns your sword to you, then goes and fumbles in a corner of the hut. When he comes back, he offers you his most prized possession, a small piece of amber. Trapped inside the amber is a female glowworm, whose phosphorescent light is still shining, despite the millennia it must have spent in the fossil resin, which again, of course, is ridiculous, because the glow would have been from bacteria, which would have been long dead. You gravely accept the gift. Before putting it in your backpack, you inspect the amber cube and see that it has the number 20 engraved in fine spidery runes on one of its faces. The wild man next invites you to spend the night in his humble abode. Let's see. So amber number 20. So amber. Will you accept or not? If you accept, turn to 86. If you do not, you bid him a cautious farewell and make your way safely back through the hollies. Turn to 321, which is where you started earlier. I'm going to, in this case, let's see, where are we now? Accept. Yes, I'm going to accept. Turn to 86. You feel perfectly safe in the hut now. You lie down on the floor, cover yourself with some sackcloth, and fall asleep. But even though you are in an oasis within the blighted forest, your dreams are troubled. You seem to see a vast serpent coiled around the forest and squeezing. As the forest contracts, it turns into a mocking face whose mouth is Ishtra's pit, and whose laughter becomes the chilling shriek you heard from the hillside. You wake up to find that the scream was your own, but you soon return to your dreams. You are walking through the forest and a tree blocks your path. You step aside, but it is still in front of you, though you did not see it move. Wherever you go, the same thing happens, until you realize that you will have to fight it. Immediately, its branches try to throttle you, and you can feel yourself suffocate. The tree has a power score of 16. Roll 2 dice. On a roll of 2 to 7, it has reduced your power score by 2. On a roll of 8 to 12, you have reduced its power score by 2. Continue until either its or your power score reaches 0. I'm going to roll that out, but I'm going to ignore the result if it turns out badly. So it's got a 16 power. I've got 19. And then we roll 2 to 7, and it wins the rest. Yeah, so I'm going to 17, 15. It's down to 14. I'm down to 13. He's down to 12. It's down to 10, 11. I'm down to 9. He's down to 8. I'm down to 7. I'm down to 5. I'm down to 3. He's down to 6. I'm down to 1. He's down to 4. And I lost, but I'm going to ignore that and say that I won because I'm not going to stop now. Well, hang on. Being defeated doesn't actually mean that you lose anything. It just has some permanent effect, I suppose. Yeah, so it doesn't actually matter if I win or lose, does it? It's a dream battle. It is now morning and you wake from your nightmare in the wild man's hut. Your body is aching and sore as if the fight had been real, and your neck is bruised where the tree throttled you. Restore your power to 1 point less than it was before, so I'm down to 18. And there are 2 stamina points, so the stamina is 19. If the wild man is still alive, he is, turn to 215. Otherwise, you crawl back through the hallways and continue on your way. So 215. The wild man looks older than he did last night, as though with the departure of his madness he has lost some of the will to live. That makes sense, I guess. I mean, you have to be mad to want to stay alive, don't you? He introduces himself as Eric Runeaxe. In a cracked voice, he recalls the more pleasant days in the forest before the coming of the Terror. It turns out that he was once an adventurer like yourself, in the land far away over the seas, but he got lost in something called the Maze of Zagor and gave up his adventuring ways. I think lots of people who've been playing fighting fantasy gamebooks have felt exactly the same way about the Maze of Zagor. And after playing the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, they decided that this wasn't for them because that maze was just ridiculous. But it is actually very easy once you map it. But it's actually the best maze in the whole of the series, probably, as well. Anyway, he travelled here to retire, as he thought, but now you have rekindled some of his old spirit and he wants to come with you. Will you accept his company or gently but firmly refuse? I'm going to accept his company, of course. 183. As you walk together through groves of oaks and beeches... Oh, we've left already, apparently. As you walk together through groves of oaks and beeches whose former glory has given way to the abomination of brown, swollen leaves or to death, you ask Eric if he knows anything about Ishtra's underground stronghold. His conversation is still irrational at times and is punctuated by rambling tales or irrelevant laughter. So it's a bit like me playing fighting fantasy game books then, where I sometimes go off on a tangent and rambling tales. Not so much irrelevant laughter, but yeah. But you do glean one important piece of information. An orc told him, when tortured, that Ishtra had appointed a lieutenant. This monster is Morpheus, a vast mass of slime who is the source of all nightmares. He can affect the real world only indirectly by means of nightmares, and he is visible only in the dream world. He surrounds Ishtra with a cloak of impenetrable darkness, unless he can be defeated. But he cannot be approached except in a dream, and must be weakened, not killed, to gain access to Ishtra, since if a dreamer were to kill the source of his dream, he would greatly endanger himself. Gain 2 luck points for this vital information. Turn to 89. So this is something I'll have to come back to and have a look at when I get to that point in the book where that is going to be relevant. So 89. And that's obviously, this is meant to happen. This is the only correct path at the moment I am 89. You pass another of the clearings which afflict the forest like open sores. To your astonishment, there is a perfectly ordinary, peaceful deer grazing in the middle of the clearing. Is there a perfectly ordinary, peaceful deer grazing in the middle of the clearing? Or is it something else, which seems more obvious, doesn't it? The sight is like a breath of fresh air in the sewer. Nice figure. Will you investigate this remarkable phenomenon or not? Well, I think that it's obviously some kind of it's not clear exactly what's been yeah. Anyway, I don't want to investigate it any further. I actually would rather just go away, but I'm not sure which is the best option here, but it looks like not investigating seems okay. So I'm just going to go with not investigating. Was wondering is yeah. Late in the afternoon, you are resting against the trunk of a rotten tree. You are convinced that you are close to your goal. The feeling of oppression weighs down on you like a physical force, but you have more direct evidence than that. Chaos is beginning to taint the forest. Beginning to. You have seen a two-headed weasel scurrying through the putrid leaf mold. You have seen ivy with a trunk as thick as an ancient oak, and at one point the ground itself heaved underneath you. You didn't wait to see what caused it. Suddenly the tree you are leaning against gapes and tries to engulf you, but you leap away from it in time. That puts paid to your plan of resting before the final push towards your goal. You pick up your backpack and freeze. A guttural call disturbed by a raven from its branch, and the call... No, a guttural call disturbed a raven from its branch, and the call was answered by another behind you, and another. This is the first time I heard about ravens being here anyway, so there should have been a mention of some birds scattering about. And another. You are surrounded, and you don't yet know by what or whom. If you have a companion, turn to 323, otherwise turn to 229. So I do have a companion. I go to... So now we're on 146. 323, 229, so I'll go 323. It soon becomes clear what you are up against. A raiding party of 6 dark elves is closing in on you, flitting from tree to tree. As soon as you see them, your wood-elf blood boils and you're ready for the fray. These warped elves mock the goodness of the other elven races. The scum deserve to die. Racist again. Eric takes on 3 of them while you engage the other 3. You stand between 2 close trees and back to back with Eric so that you can fight your opponents one at a time. If you win, turn to 19. So, let's see. So we are 3, 2, 3, and win is 19. So 8, 6, 7, 6, and 7, 8. So if you don't have Eric with you, you have to fight 6 of them, actually, which makes a big difference, I guess. 8, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8. And at the moment, I am 11, 19. First one, I got a 3 skill point advantage. He rolls 8. I roll 7. He's down to 4. He rolls 8. I roll 5. That's the draw. He rolls 9. I roll 10. He's down to 2 hit points. He rolls 6. I roll 4. He's down to... Well, he's dead. Next one, I've got a 4 skill point advantage. He rolls 9. I roll 12. He rolls 9. I roll 8. He rolls 7. And I roll 9. And so he's also dead. Next one, same story. 4 skill point advantage. He rolls 2, which means he can't win that round. He rolls 10. I roll 11. He rolls 11. I roll 10. He rolls 6. I roll 7. So he is also dead. A lot better rolling than last time. I win, and I go to 19. As the fight went on, you could sense Eric being hard-pressed. You yelled encouragement to him when you could, but just as you finish off the last of your opponents, you feel him slip to the ground. You whirl round to find that he has killed 1 Dark Elf, but 2 remain. What a lightweight! He made it all the way to the Maze of Zagor. He's got a really big, shiny axe, and he's being killed by 1 measly Dark Elf. I mean, seriously. But one of them is wounded. This brutal creature has just plunged his spear through Eric's neck. You fight these 2 elves simultaneously. Each attack round, choose which one you are attacking, but roll dice for both of them, blah blah blah. Okay then. So 8, 7, 5, 4. So I'm going to start with a 5-4, get him out of the way, maybe. Although it's very unlikely to hit me though, isn't it? I'm going to start with 8-7. So 3 skill point away. He rolls 11. I roll 9, so that's me hitting him. The other one, he rolls 5, so he doesn't hit me. Next round, he rolls 7. I roll 4. That's a draw. Other one rolls 6. I roll 6. So he doesn't injure me. Next round, he rolls a 5. I roll a 7. He's down to 3 hit points. The other one rolls a 6. I roll a 7. 3, which means that I'm definitely hitting him. Don't need to roll for myself. Other one rolls 8. I roll 11. Then he rolls 9. I roll 6. That's a draw. 5 and 7. 6 and 8. First one's dead. The second one rolls 8. I roll 8. Then I'm attacking the second one. I go 6 skill point advantage. He rolls 11. I roll 10. He rolls 10. I roll 2, which means he actually hits me. He rolls 4, and that means he's dead. Okay, so my stamina is now down to 17. If you win, you bury Eric with all honor. There is the glimmer of a peaceful smile on his bloody face. You lay his notched axe to rest with him and continue on your way alone and with a heavy heart. Turn to 392. We didn't really get to know Eric, did we? And it seems that his only usefulness is, of course, you can get the amber without his help if you kill him. Because if you don't kill him, you get the amber and then he helps you with this battle. That's it. That's the limit of his usefulness, which means you don't really get to know him so well as you get the Throm in Death Trap Dungeon, which is probably one of the NPCs in Fighting Fantasy that you get the closest to in a way. Yeah. So 392. Add 2 luck points for surviving this extremely dangerous encounter. Okay, still on maximum. With the Dark Elves. You also gain a disguise. Since you reckon that there will be many of Ishtar's troops underground, you don the clothing of a Dark Elf. Not long afterwards, but after nightfall, you come to the entrance to Ishtar's pit. It is not what you expected. Two grand pillars of ivory flank the mouth of a tunnel, which slopes underground and is lit by guttering torches on the wall. Your dream was being symbolic, not literal, when it showed you a collapsed pit. These are probably natural tunnels which Istra has taken over and restored. You draw a deep breath, let it out slowly, and step through the gate of ivory. A flock of bats, disturbed by your presence, flap noisily out into the night. Turn to 350. I'm going to eat a provision as well. Get my stamina back to maximum. And then it's my next page. Now, at the moment, the only thing that seems to be missing from the path that I've taken is a hatchet, which would have helped me with one one extra attack point, but only for that one battle in the beginning. So at the moment, it seems like I can start from this point next time, and I'll be fine. Right. 350. As soon as you step between the pillars, your trained sixth sense picks up an important feature of Istra's underground domain. This is a place where the dream world and the real world overlap. You can travel through these tunnels in either world. Thus, throughout this final lap of your adventure, you could try to get to Istra entirely in the dream world, or entirely in the real world. Or you could flip from one world to the other. Most remarkably, when you travel in the dream world in Istra's domain, your physical body moves too. It is not like being asleep when your body remains in the same place. It is rather that, even though you are actually walking along, your awareness is only of the dream world. You are like a sleepwalker. Apart from the different adventures the two worlds offer, it should be noted that there are advantages and disadvantages to them both. For instance, you cannot expect to acquire physical artifacts in the dream world. On the other hand, while you are in the dream world, your physical body is invisible, but not immaterial in the real world. It should also be noted that when you cross from the dream world to the real world, you may be disorientated and not know exactly where you are in the tunnels. Whenever a real world paragraph is marked by asterisk, you can choose to flip to the dream world by subtracting 20 from the paragraph number and turning to that new reference. Whenever a dream world paragraph is marked by hash symbol, you can choose to flip to the real world by adding 50 to the paragraph number and turning to that new reference. You can flip from one world to the other in this way, whatever other choices the paragraph offers. You will be offered the opportunity to flip only when it is feasible to do so. For now, you step cautiously down the tunnel ahead of you. Turn to 362. Right, that's going to get confusing rather quickly. That's obviously quite a complex mechanic to work out and to organize in the book. So that indicates to me that there's actually not that much left to do, because that would take up extra space. We'll see. Right. You come to a fork in the tunnel. This has got an asterisk. At the point where two passages meet yours. A large stone statue faces you, which you recognize as a cryo-sphinx, a ram-headed sphinx. As soon as you draw near, portcullises slam down to block off the ways onward, and the cryo-sphinx speaks in a stone-cold voice. Excuse me. The left route leads further, the right, to sudden death. You know that Sphinx's words are never quite what they seem. Will you take the path to your left or to your right? So in the past, I called its bluff and I turned right and went to 151. Of course, at this point, I can also go into the dream world by subtracting 20. So there's a parallel 342, but of course I tried that last time and that was the wrong option, so I'm not going to do that again. So in this case I'm going to turn right. 151. Done it before, and I have made a note that that is the correct choice. You think that the trick in the Sphinx's words is that since it is facing you, what is left from its point of view is right from yours. Actually, I wasn't thinking that, but thank you for telling me that afterwards. So you approach the tunnel to your right. The portcullis rises. You step under it with bated breath and proceed down the tunnel. You are safe for the moment. There is the tramp of marching feet up ahead, but the sound is getting fainter. You will not have to test your disguise immediately. The tunnel ends at the large well-lit cavern. There are several other tunnels leading off the cavern. While you wait and watch, a company of orcs emerges from one tunnel, crosses the cavern, and goes down another tunnel. A whole company? Really? You watch for 10 more minutes, and 2 more patrols pass through the cavern. So is it the company of orcs or is it the patrol of orcs? Because a patrol would just be a squad, usually, wouldn't it? Big difference between a company and a squad. Anyway. That's just me being pedantic again. Don't mind me. Okay. There's a large pile of ancient bones close to one wall of the cavern. Will you go over to them or carry on watching? I'm going to go over to the bones, obviously. Once you are fairly well hidden behind the bones, you start to wonder what they are doing there. For a moment, I misread that. I wonder what you are doing there. But yeah, what they are doing there. They are too old to be the refuse of the tunnel's present occupants. You see cloven skulls and other signs that these people did not die peacefully in their sleep. You also see that the skeletons are mainly human. It dawns on you that these must be the remains of a force that fought against the legions of evil in the Great War which ravaged Cool centuries ago. In the past, these tunnels have seen bloody combat. It heartens you that these underground warrens were once home to such heroes. Maybe there are traces of good left in this nest of evil. It could be worth your while to explore a bit. Add 1 luck point and turn to 84. I do not need a luck point. I just need to turn to 84. You cannot stay here forever. This is an asterisk paragraph. You can easily find a time when the cavern is empty of patrols to enter one of the other tunnels, but which one? There are 4 to choose from, not counting the one you have recently come from. And by now you have seen patrols either emerging from or entering all 4 tunnels. While you are pondering the matter, 2 patrols emerge from 2 of the tunnels and go down the other 2. You reckon that the tunnels they have just come from are now likely to be more clear. You take the northern tunnel or the western one, and this is also where I can choose to go into the dream world, which last time didn't take long before I ended up not getting anywhere further. I'm going to... In the dream world, you can choose all of them, of course. I'm going to go north in this one, 281. So this is, for the first time actually in this playthrough, really a new place I haven't been before. I mean, really new place I haven't been before. Excuse me. I thought getting dry from all this talking. And of course, now that I'm not doing my normal way of recording things, or the way I used to, of course, I don't get the breaks either. Unless I take them, I guess. Anyway. The tunnel you're in winds quite a lot, but its general direction is northerly. Gradually from up ahead you begin to hear the sound of gruff voices raised in argument. You peer round a corner, when you judge that you are close enough to the source of the sound and see a troll and an ogre. They have literally bumped into each other at the junction of 2 passages, one of which continues north, while the other goes east. It seems that the ogre was carrying various instruments of torture, but dropped them when the troll crashed into him. You hear the ogre tell the troll that he is a clumsy oaf and to pick up the torture devices. The troll stubbornly refuses. Harsh words lead to cold steel, as the saying goes in Titan, and before long the pair of misshapen monsters are fighting. Will you try to sneak past while they're occupied, or wait to see what happens? I'm going to wait to see what happens, because that sounds like more fun. So I'm going to put those 2 options up on my map now. 193, sneak, or 385, Wait. The troll kills the ogre, surprise, surprise, but then stomps off down the passage towards you. You will have to fight your way out of this situation. The troll's blood is up and he is spoiling for another fight, whether it is against an ally or not. Fortunately, the troll has been wounded by the ogre and is a less formidable opponent than he would have been otherwise. So, he is an 8/7. And if I win, I turn to 39. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I could have snuck past, and I'm quite sure I would have been okay sneaking past as well, but there might be some items there that I can find useful. So, yeah, 3 skill point advantage. He rolls a 9, I roll a 3, so that is me down to, where's my pencil? There we are. 19 again. 9, 10. So he's down to 5. 5, 9. He's down to 3 hit points. He rolls a 7. I roll a 7. He's down to 1. And he rolls 8. And I roll 5. That's a draw. He rolled 7. I roll 7. And he is dead. Excuse me. And I turn to 39. You can find nothing useful to take among the foul and barbarous instruments of torture which the ogre dropped. Will you now take the passage north, or turn right and walk east? So, sneaking past may have been... Well, the problem with sneaking past, I guess, is if you don't succeed, and you probably, it's a luck roll, you will now have to fight both of them, rather than just one. So, probably the best thing is what I just did. Just guessing that now. So 351. Oops, wrong color. I'm trying to keep the dream world blue and the non-dream world black here just to distinguish them. So east is 255 east and 351 is north. I'm gonna go east. I'm gonna go east this time. Even though life probably isn't peaceful there. You arrive outside a room which has a transparent door made of some quartz. Although the quartz distorts your view, you can see that the room is an armory. It could be worth exploring. Will you try the door or walk on east down the tunnel? So I am going to put that there. So 68 east or 72 door. So I'm going to check out the door. The door is actually a disguised quartz golem, which Ishtra has set to guard the armory. You do not know the secret for entering the armory, so as soon as you touch the door, it transforms and attacks you. You are taken so much by surprise that it inflicts 2 stamina points of injury on you before you can react, which means I'm now down to 17 stamina again. Then you are ready for it, but it is a massive and terrifying prospect. So it is 10-18. That is a really formidable opponent. I'm 11-17. That is a little bit too even a combat for my taste, but of the 2 attack rounds, you can try to escape. If you remain and win the battle, turn to 121. I'm just going to put those things up here. So we have so 121 win and 180 escape. Okay. So I'm going to try to fight this one. Okay, so 1 skill point advantage. He rolls 11. I roll 4. Okay. He rolls 5. I roll 5. He rolls 10. I roll 7. Doesn't look very good, does it? Should I be using luck for this? I'm not sure. It's a bit risky. He rolls 9. I roll 5. He rolls 6. I roll 10. He's down to 14. I've got 11. He rolls 7. I roll 8. I'll use my luck, see if I can do some extra damage. Yes. So it's down to 12. Luck's down to 7. He rolls 6. I roll 10. He's down to 9. I'll use luck again and see if I can add some extra damage to him. Yes. And again. So he's down to 8. So I used luck twice, and then I could save 1 combat round, which was the idea. So he rolls 7. I roll 9. He's down to 6. He rolls 5. I roll 6. He's down to 4. He rolls 3. I roll 7. He's down to 2. He rolls 8. I roll 10. And he is dead. Okay. And fair and square, I beat him 121. This is a notable victory, but no use at all. As soon as the golem felt itself being overcome, it changed back into an inanimate and immovable quartz door. Moreover, if you were fighting with your sword rather than a two-handed axe, you have notched and blunted the blade and must reduce your attack strength by 1 for future combat. This only increases your frustration at being unable to get into the armory. Stamp off east down the tunnel 10 to 68. Okay. Okay, so do not do this. Okay. Right. Step of east down to the tunnel 10 to 68. Okay. After a while, the tunnel veers to the left, and you find yourself outside what is unmistakably the kitchen of Ishtra's stronghold. You feel that you have been lucky in not meeting any patrols recently, and you do not want to push your luck too far by returning along the passage you have just walked down. So you push open the door into the kitchen, turn to 320. Now, before I do that, I'm going to take my potion of fortune. My luck is back to 9. Or back to, well, it's up to 9, because I get 1 extra point as well. Instead, in addition to restoring it to the initial. And my hit points were, excuse me, 11. It is the kitchen. I'm actually quite likely to find provisions there, but I want to eat before I go into the kitchen. 2 rations, because it seems a bit risky to go in without being ready for it. Okay. And also now I have the option of going into the dream world again. Let's say 68. So I can also then go to 48, I suppose that is, isn't it? Yeah, 48. Okay. Should I try going into the dream world again? Yeah, let's go into the dream world. So I'm going to go to 48. There is a path of sorts between... Oh, hang on. It was minus 20, wasn't it? So... just doesn't really go with what I've just read. It's like a completely different thing. There is a path of sorts between ruined houses, some of which are still smoking. The smell of death hangs heavy in the air. In a crater in the ground, you see 2 bloated corpses, which are being ripped at by scavenging mordidas. You know that you are walking through a scene from the future of Titan. If Ishtar's plans of conquest succeed, you are determined that they shall not. The path forks to bypass a hill. Will it go left or right? I suppose the dream world now looks completely different to the real world. And 208 or 186. That's left or right? I'm going to turn right. Excuse me. There is an ominous quiet in the air, which the warning croak of a bird does nothing to relieve. All of a sudden, the ground fragments and a chasm yawns in front of you. You teeter on the edge, but pull back. You leap the chasm, but another opens up just where you land. Roll a die 6 times. If you roll 1 on the first throw, you have fallen down a chasm. If you roll 2 on the second throw, or 3 on the third, and so on. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. So I fell down the chasm on the 4th. So then I'm going to 17 fall 397. No, okay. I'll fall down and see what happens in the chasm. You tumble through empty space. You will land in the demonic plains where Ishtar's colleagues will show you no mercy. Your adventure is over. So, and so then it's roll dice 6 times. Right. That ended quite abruptly, I feel. But what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to start from the point where you enter the underground there to speed things up. If it turns out that there is something outside that I missed that I needed to have picked up or seen or heard about, any clue that I need to pick up, then I will have to, of course, next time after that again go back further. But at the moment, there is no indication of that. I've found several clues. Usually there aren't that many clues to pick up, so I think the number seems plausible. And so I'm just gonna change the view now. So that means that I can most likely start from there, and it'll be quite a bit more efficient to get into the nitty-gritty of what's actually going on in here. There's a lot of mapping to do, and of course, because you can move between the dream world and the real world, it's a little bit complicated. Not like the Maze of Zagor, in a different way. So yeah. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little playthrough, and I certainly enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to more now that I'm feeling a bit more like playing fighting fantasy again. Although I'm losing my voice because I'm not used to doing this anymore, I guess. I'm not used to talking all day, all the time. Well. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, comment, subscribe, join me on Patreon, add this to public playlists, etc. All that usual stuff that you do. Buy me a coffee, etc. And I'll see you next time. So thank you for watching, and goodbye for now. Bye bye.